welcome to your Daily 5 for Tuesday, November 28th, 2023. I think I mentioned on one of our shows, I know I had talked about it before I bought it, and then I think I had mentioned it on one of our full shows, that I finally picked up one of the Palma devices from the company that apparently you're supposed to pronounce as the word box, even though it's spelled with two O's. So the company name is Boox, but apparently that's supposed to be pronounced as box. And the device that I got from them is the one that I had been talking about, which is called the Palma. So Palma. And there are, basically it comes in black or white. I got the white version because the black one was sold out. But this is a very specific device for a very specific user. The easiest way to think of what this thing is, if you don't remember me talking about it before, because I don't know if I really went into a lot of detail on it, but it is, and I did mention it in the Adobe Max, the thing that I did with Aunt Pruitt on a late night, so I mentioned it there as well. But this is essentially a Wi-Fi e-ink phone. So when I say Wi-Fi e-ink phone, I mean that because there is no cellular device, and as far as I know, no eSIM inside this device. It is intended as a Wi-Fi device, but it is an Android phone. Now, I think it's running Android, I want to say 11 or 12. It's not running the most current version. I don't know if it ever will, because, it is not really intended as a phone replacement, although looking at it, now they describe it as a 6-inch e-ink tablet, and that's true, but the better way to think of this is as an e-ink Wi-Fi phone, because that's basically how I'm using it. I want a device that I could use for my job, but I did not want to purchase or have a phone purchased for me. I just don't have a need for two cell phones. But there are definitely cases where I don't want to be using an iPad. I just want to have something very pocketable, very, very portable, and that had all the capabilities of a phone without being a phone. And I've had it now for about a month, so, that's not necessarily a long-term review, but really this thing has been exactly what I wanted. It is a very specific device for a very specific type of user. So I'm certainly not making this a broad recommendation unless you really want a phone-sized e-reader and are willing to spend the money for that and then have stuff on top of that. So it's not I would recommend this to anybody type of device, and even not necessarily people who are into technology. It's such a weird category of device. I really don't know how else to put it as opposed to saying it's a niche device. But if you read about this thing and you feel like you have a need for it, then I would say get it. Because what I wanted was, the other nice part about this thing is the battery life. I charge this thing maybe once a week, and I've stretched it to 2 weeks by using it in very specific ways. It's power saving and all the rest of it. But because it's e-ink, it really does so much better. I mean, it's amazing to have a device like this that I really never worry. I've never gotten it below 25%. Even when I've used it aggressively during the week for stuff for work. And, I'm talking about taking photos with it, which is such a weird experience, I have to say. Because when you take photos with it, it is an e-ink screen with a normal cell phone camera. So when you're taking the pictures, it looks like something from a Game Boy. I mean, the whole thing, whenever there's motion, looks like a Game Boy in terms of its monochrome aesthetic. It's not color ink, it's monochrome. And then when you take the picture and you look at it, it's a normal picture. I mean, it's certainly not going to compete with a Samsung or anything like that, but it's perfectly fine for a normal use case where you just need a picture of something. Usually what I'm using it for is reference. Okay, I need a number off of something, or I need a map a location of something, so I take a picture of it. It's perfectly fine for that. So, like I said, the battery life is outstanding. I've put all the standard kind of workplace apps you might need on there. Something like Outlook and Teams and Zoom. They all run fine. They work. Hooks up to a Bluetooth device. It has all the same Do Not Disturb features. So basically, I set my work hours, and then outside those hours, the device goes silently. The only thing I'm still trying to work out is it doesn't really seem to handle notifications the way that you think it would, in that when the screen is locked, it doesn't display them, which I think is intentional, but is probably something that can be turned off. But that's not really a problem for me, because I like this device as, I don't want it to be constantly hassling me. I want to use it when I need to use it, and then the rest of the time I want it to shut up. And that's exactly what it does. So again, I'll link to it. If this looks like something you might use, it will probably work really well for you, because I knew what I wanted to use this for, and it's done it perfectly for me the whole time. A very specific niche device, but if you're in that niche, you should take a close look at this thing. Later.